The moment you realize that everything you've been taught about money might be wrong, your entire financial future changes. Today we are diving deep into chapter 2 of Rich Dad Poor Dad, where Robert Kiyosaki drops some serious truth bombs about financial literacy that will completely shift how you think about wealth. But before we jump into chapter 2, let's quickly wrap up what we learned from chapter 1. Remember how Kiyosaki introduced us to his two dads? His poor dad, who was highly educated with a PhD, always struggled with money despite his impressive credentials. Meanwhile, his rich dad, who didn't even finish 8th grade, became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. The key difference wasn't education or intelligence, it was their mindset about money. Poor dad would say things like, "I can't afford it," while rich dad would ask, "How can I afford it?" This fundamental shift in thinking from statements to questions, from limitations to possibilities, sets the foundation for everything we are about to explore. Chapter 1 ended with a powerful realization that the rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's the entire philosophy that separates the wealthy from everyone else. And this brings us perfectly to chapter 2, which Kiyosaki calls Why Teach Financial Literacy. Here's where things get really interesting. Kiyosaki argues that financial literacy, specifically the ability to distinguish between an asset and a liability, is the single most crucial concept in achieving wealth. Think about this for a moment. We spent years in school learning algebra, history, and literature, but how many of us were ever taught the difference between something that puts money in our pocket versus something that takes money out? This gap in our education system is exactly why the divide between rich and poor keeps growing wider. Now let me share the definitions that changed everything for Kiyosaki and honestly should change everything for us. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket whether you work or not. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Sounds simple, right? But here's where most people get it completely wrong. The poor and middle class focus primarily on their income statement, constantly thinking about their salary and monthly expenses. They work harder, get promotions, earn more money, but somehow never seem to get ahead financially. Why? Because they keep acquiring what they think are assets but are actually liabilities. They buy bigger houses, fancier cars, expensive gadgets, all while telling themselves these purchases are investments. Meanwhile, they are trapped in what Kiyosaki calls the rat race, working harder and harder just to pay for the things that are draining their wealth. The rich, however, think completely differently. Their focus is on the balance sheet and building what Kiyosaki calls an assets column. Instead of just earning more money to buy more stuff, they acquire things that generate cash flow. Stocks that pay dividends, rental properties that provide monthly income, businesses that run without their constant presence, intellectual property that earns royalties. These assets work for them 24/7, creating money while they sleep. But here comes the most controversial point in this entire chapter, and honestly, it's the one that makes most people uncomfortable. Kiyosaki boldly states that your personal residence, your home, is typically a liability, not an asset. I can almost hear you thinking, wait, what? My house is my biggest investment. But let's think about this logic. Does your home put money in your pocket every month? For most people, the answer is no. Instead, it takes money out through mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and repairs. Even if your house appreciates in value over time, you're not seeing that cash flow monthly. You're actually paying to own it. By Kiyosaki's definition, that makes it a liability, not an asset. This doesn't mean you shouldn't own a home. It means you should understand what it really is financially and plan accordingly. The wealthy often buy their homes last, after they've built up enough assets to generate the cash flow needed to support their lifestyle and their home expenses. Here's another mind shift that chapter 2 brings. Wealth isn't measured by how much money you make, but by how much money you keep, and how long your assets could sustain you if you stopped working today. A person earning 50,000 rupees a month but saving and investing 20,000 is building more wealth than someone earning 2 lakh rupees a month but spending it all. The rich understand that true financial security comes from having assets that generate enough passive income to cover all your expenses. When your assets are paying for your lifestyle, you're financially free. You work because you want to, not because you have to. So what's the strategy? It's beautifully simple yet requires discipline to execute. Acquire assets that generate cash flow. Start small if you need to. Maybe it's investing in dividend-paying stocks, or buying a small rental property, or starting a side business that can eventually run without your daily involvement. The key is to consistently, month after month, year after year, build that assets column. Every rupee you spend on liabilities is a rupee that could have been working for you instead. Every asset you acquire is a step closer to financial freedom. This is the foundation of wealth building that schools never taught us. But chapter 2 of Rich Dad Poor Dad makes crystal clear. The journey from financial struggle to financial freedom starts with this simple understanding. Assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out. Everything else is just details. Once you truly grasp this concept and start applying it, you'll never look at money the same way again.